Hello and welcome to the Talking Shit Podcast. This is the Film Snob. Glad you could join me this week. We got a lot of shit to talk about, or a lot of shit to talk about shit. I wanted to hold off the show as long as I can this week because there's so much going on. First and foremost, I want to talk about Bob Iger signing a year extension to his contract. So now it looks like he will be leaving Disney in 2019. That gives them a little more time to find somebody to take over his spot as CEO. There has not been any names thrown about that I know of. Two people that I could think of right offhand would probably be like Kathleen Kennedy and maybe Lasseter. Again, this is no surprise. It is surprising more so that they weren't able to talk him into staying longer, but Disney does have a history since the death of Walt Disney of hanging on to their CEOs just a little bit too long. When Iger took over years ago, the Disney brand was on its way out. In fact, they were more or less a joke in Hollywood. Flop after flop, the animation division was dying. The only thing Disney had at that point, and he was able to keep the Disney name attached to, and that was Pixar, and he also was there for the acquisition of not only the Muppets, but Marvel Films, which everybody thought was a folly and they paid way too much for, but has done nothing but make them money hand over fist. And of course, the acquisition of Lucasfilm, which was a huge deal. The $4 billion purchase looks like it's going to pan out very well for the Disney company, and they've come from the bottom of the barrel to the top rung once again. So it'll be interesting to see who they try and find to take his place. There's rumors that Iger is eyeballing some type of political office of some type, but there, of course, will be more on that as it comes along. Ivan Reitman spoke out about Ghostbusters. It's been a little bit since the film came out last year, so the controversies died down just a little bit, I guess. Reitman says that there's definitely more Ghostbusters on the way. They are working hard on an animated movie that sounds like it's going to be released in 2019 or 2020. More on that in a minute. It does not sound like, though, they are going to completely erase last year's Ghostbusters. It does sound like they're going to try and work them in somehow into this new franchise that they're trying to start with Ghost Corps. Frankly, I think that's a mistake, and I think they need to get as far away from that movie as possible. I mean, even if they decided tomorrow they were just going to make a sequel to make a sequel, it would cost them so much to probably get Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy and Kate McKinnon and Leslie Jones back after all the bullshit, because I really don't think they'd want to deal with it all again. There was a lot of blame placed on the original actors costing a lot of money for the production. Paul Feig blamed that on the movie costing so much, among other things. The reason I bring this up is because Ivan Reitman did say that the movie cost too much. And that's very possible that paying off Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray, Ivan Reitman and Ernie Hudson, considering some kind of contractual obligation, it's very possible that some of the money that was spent on that movie was because of that, but there's no excuse for the amount of money that was spent on the movie and the advertising. There is no excuse. There was no reason for Sony to bank that much on a Ghostbusters franchise, a movie that has not had anything to really do with anything since the early 90s. So I just feel like it was a very big mistake on Sony's part, and I feel it's a big mistake if they try to continue this universe. In the comic books, they're trying to cross over the original Ghostbusters with the new Ghostbusters, and it's getting a very lukewarm to negative response. It has something to do with cross-dimensional bullshit. So like right there, fuck it. If you gotta go with this two Earths crap, then it's not worth it. This, of course, comes right on the heels and was probably brought up mainly because Sony launched a tutorial for its new VR Ghostbusters game that's coming along, and people are upset because they paid $7 for this tutorial and the graphics are crap. And of course, to make matters worse, it's the new Ghostbusters. It's not the original Ecto 1, it's the new Ecto 1. You can hear Hemsworth's voice in the tutorial and everything like that. I watched a little video on it. I've seen a few videos and read a few reviews of it already, and it just is not looking good. Not looking good. Ghostbusters has had a tough history when it comes to video games. The Ghostbusters video game that came out a few years back here now, that was probably the best of the bunch, the most well received, even though I personally felt there was more that could have been done with it. So we'll see what does happen, and the reason why I think that they're probably not sure when this movie is supposed to be coming out, whether it's 19 or 2020, there's a lot of room there, and the reason I think this is because I honestly still think Sony is on its last leg. They are hoping to God that Spider-Man Homecoming and the Emoji Movie makes them some money, because otherwise I have a feeling they're going to put the company up for sale. the movie division anyway. Speaking of Sony, moving on. Amy Schumer has supposedly dropped out of the Barbie project along with the director. As you may have heard or remember from earlier reports that Sony was making a live-action Barbie movie. Amy Schumer, of course, was going to be the lead of a Barbie trapped in the real world, and she was not a Barbie like the rest of the Barbies, etc., etc. What they're reporting is that she can't make it because she's going to be promoting Snatched and then go right into filming a small movie with Steve Carell, and claims that they have a scheduling conflict. I think the only conflict here is Sony having a conflict with Amy Schumer, because this, of course, is right after the backlash from her latest concert that's on Netflix and is just getting hatred left and right. Even more reports that she's stealing more jokes. Snatched looks horrible. I put the link down to my last trailer review down there. Check that out if you want to see what I think about that. I really just think that this is Amy trying to save face. I doubt she had this other movie lined up. She just took it now because Sony probably said, fuck you, get out. We don't want anything to do with you. And the director just happened to side with Amy, saying, well, if she's not going to be in the movie, then I'm not going to direct it. And they said, fine, there's the door. Well, they're still plugged into this date. That's the problem. So understandably, there's a chance that this may be true, but I highly doubt it, because this has been going on for a while. They've been getting into this for a while. They knew what the start date was. They knew what the release date was supposed to be. Amy knew all this stuff going into it, so I highly doubt there's any conflict of a schedule. It sounds like to me they just shit-canned her and the director went with it. So it'll be interesting to see what comes up. A lot of people seem to think Melissa McCarthy may get pulled in. Amy Pascal's one of the producers on this film, so it's pretty much destined to be nothing but shit anyway. I have no personal interest in Barbie. I just know from being a fan of other things that I would not like to see something that I care about turned into garbage or not taken seriously. And that's what it sounds like Sony and Mattel are doing with this Barbie character. I don't see this working. But we'll see how that goes and if there's any announcements on the way. A lot of people want Margot Robbie to take the character, but because of what the actual plot of the film is, a lot of people are starting to think that maybe Melissa McCarthy might get approached. In other news, there's been two major announcements in talks for Cable and Deadpool 2. Earlier in the week, we had Brad Pitt announced as possibly being in the running to play Cable, but now all of a sudden, the frontrunner is supposedly Michael Shannon, who played Zod in Man of Steel, so this will be another turn for Michael in a comic book movie. I'm kind of surprised by this. I could see Shannon doing the role. He's a very good actor. A little over the top in Man of Steel, but odd thing is earlier in the week, there was also some supposed concept art leaked, and it was all of Brad Pitt. So it's hard to say. Maybe they've been courting Brad Pitt for a while now, and they're just on the ropes, and all of a sudden they've gotten in talks with Michael Shannon, and Michael Shannon's actually showing some interest. Who knows? But supposedly Shannon's at the top of the list, and Brad Pitt is also in the possible running for the role of Cable. So hopefully we'll hear about that soon, considering Deadpool 2 is supposed to start filming next month. There was a teaser trailer attached to Logan. That's not really a spoiler. Most people know that by now. It's online if you want to check that out. Very, very funny. I have a feeling that's probably going to be in the movie, so technically they've kind of already started filming. I guess you could look at it that way. But regardless, go ahead and tell me what you guys think down below and keep talking shit.